BJ, I'm just curious what it's like, obviously conceding, I think 17 seconds into the match. I'm sure that kind of just is maybe throws some things off as in terms of just what you've planned for the match. What did you make of that, and I guess how you responded to going down so early?
Yeah, I mean, I think you give Chicago credit. They came out right away with high intensity and press. It's something that we spoke about and talked about. But again, it's a mistake, and those things happen, and we move on. I thought the team in the first half settled in. Obviously, the conditions today with the wind and everything. You could see it played the tale of two halves. But really, just the group competed some areas that we need to get better in. But I thought, there was maybe a couple chances out there to score an equalizer.
We'll move to Jacob Shames.
Yeah, BJ, this season you have scored 17 goals in 5 matches across all competitions at Geodis and just 4 goals in 5 games away from Geodis across all competitions. What does that discrepancy come down to in your eyes, and what do you feel can be maybe done about it?
I mean, I think, for us, it's just about being more clinical in our finishing. Even tonight, I thought there was a couple chances out there that we could have had. And we lacked, I think, a little bit of sharpness, just in and around sort of the attacking side of the middle third and the final third. But again, there was a couple moments out there that I thought, we could have gotten a little more out of the game.
We'll move to Valaire.
Yeah, BJ, speaking of that sharpness, how much of that do you attribute to maybe the break, the international break, and just not having the consistent games that you were used to, or is any of that attributed to that little break?
I mean, we're not going to make any excuses. Everybody in the league had the same break. So again, I give Chicago a lot of credit for coming out and with intensity, pressing, really, really dangerous in transition. I thought they defended well, and they really defended the penalty box well. And for us, we needed to be able to match that intensity, match the speed of play, and be sharp. For periods of time, I thought it was there, and other periods, I thought it was lacking. And it's again an opportunity for us to kind of still get our rhythm and continue to improve and turn it around for Tuesday.
We'll move to Nick Frazier.
BJ, when it came to attacking, they're talking about the sharpness there. It just seemed like when you guys would try to work through the middle and find some space and push it out wide and bring it back into the middle on a cross, it seemed like Chicago kind of had that number where they had majority of their guys back into their inside their own defensive third. Just how do you dissect that, and were you kind of expecting that after the first goal? And do you think your team, I guess, had enough chances tonight to at least get one goal on the goal sheet?
Yeah, again, I think Greg does a great job with his team. They're well organized in all phases. Their ability to defend the penalty box and defend the space above the penalty box is really good. I thought we had moments where we were able to move the ball and get it to kind of get it across the field. But whether it's the execution or just the decision making, maybe patience to keep it, all those little things, I think, sort of maybe kept us from creating the volume of chances we wanted to score with. But I still think at the end of the day, there was, probably enough out there that we could have gotten one, and we didn't. And so, again, we'll look at it. We'll get better. We'll work at it, and we'll turn it around for Tuesday.
Ben Wright with a follow-up, followed by Jacob Shames.
Yeah, BJ, it looked like, I mean, you guys, it seemed really emphasized kind of the counter press, and it felt like Chicago did the same thing. And it seemed like it just made the game a little bit choppy. Do you feel like I guess do you feel like the stop start, especially towards the end, maybe played into their favor a little bit, and how do you feel like you were able to deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think the game was physical. The game had intensity. There was transitions. Both teams were counter pressing, like you said. Uh, yeah, like anytime a whistle happens, the other team can organize. And so it was, you're always now trying to break down an organized group. And but we have to be able to manage that, and we have to be able to try and still find opportunities to exploit it. But I think in the most part, there's probably again, I kept saying we could have been a little bit sharper in certain areas.
Yeah. What are the differences in your first loss coming 6 games into the MLS season, 10 games into the season as a whole, versus compared to 2025 when you lost at Red Bulls in your second game of the season. Are there any differences in how the team reacts to that, just considering the starts you've had?
I mean, I think we're always disappointed when we lose. We play every game to try and win the game, but at the same time, we don't get too high and we don't get too low. It's a long season. We've got multiple competitions. We'll go back. We'll look at it and we'll use the next 2 days to prepare and turn it around again for Club America. That's what good teams do, and that's the expectation of the group.